This is Anthony Starr, better known as Homelander, and he is terrifying. Unpredictable, ruthless, and pure evil, Anthony Starr has cemented Homelander as one of the most terrifying villains in all of cinema. Whether we're watching him throw children off of buildings or lasering people in half, every scene with Homelander is tense, and we never know if he's about to snap, and this is largely due in part to the effort of Anthony Starr. When you think of perfect castings, you think Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, Peter Dinklage as Tyrion Lannister. Each of these actors proved to not just own their role, but literally reinvent their character, and Anthony Starr is no different. Without Starr, there is no Homelander, and without Homelander, there is no The Boys. Homelander makes The Boys what it is, and Anthony Starr's ability to so perfectly capture Homelander's unpredictability terrifies the audience. And The Boys Season 4, Episode 4, Wisdom of the Ages epitomizes Starr's brilliance. It starts with an eerie cold open and this vague unknown following Homelander as he returns to where he grew up. Slow, constant elevator chimes are heard as Homelander slowly descends towards his home. The atmosphere is tense and the scientists are unaware of what's happening. That is, until finally we see Homelander return home to this laboratory filled with the scientists that raised him. Now, I think it's important to mention that Homelander is by far the strongest character in The Boys. So in his scenes, it's never a question of who would win in a fight, it's if Homelander will kill them. These scientists are just humans and have no physical power over Homelander. If they try to hurt him, he can crush them in a second, and if they try to run, well, there isn't anywhere to go. They're stuck in this four-walled basement prison and are simply at the mercy of Homelander, much like when he was a child. He greets the scientists that raised him wholesomely with a gift. A Fudgy the Whale cake, and Starr's dead cold expression, devoid of any positively charged emotion, immediately sets the tone. Homelander didn't come home to reconnect with the people that raised him, he came to torment them. And although we have that little shred of hope believing Homelander might spare these people, we know he'll snap at any minute as if he were playing with fragile toys. But for now, it's just a catch-up, and he greets all of his family. There's Frank, Barbara, random unnamed extras to fill the space, and most importantly, Marty. He tries to call Homelander John, his real name, but he's quickly and decisively corrected. He isn't John anymore, he's just Homelander. He confidently walks about the room, reminiscing about the good old days, but he's alone in his enjoyment. The environment is tense, and it's clear everyone is scared of Homelander, but he does his best to welcome everyone and make them feel at ease. After all, this is his family, the people who raised him to be the man he is, and he just wants to do a little something to repay them. He offers to play Frank in a game of paper basketball, and this is where Homelander's torment begins. Although the staff enjoys their Fudgy the Whale cake, there's still clear tension between them and Homelander, and they know that he could snap at any minute. And this is due to Starr's acting. His expressions are cold and emotionless. We can tell he's playing a character in a character, and that Homelander is just pretending to like these people. His stiff, cold, and closed body language reveals how he really feels and the danger that these people are in. And this ruthless unpredictability is what Starr built Homelander as a character on. No matter how important you are or how essential you may seem, if you're in a room with him, you could die. This constant feeling of danger adds a heightened sense of tension to just about any scene, and the fact that Homelander could snap at any second is terrifying. But it's even more terrifying given the fact that these are the people who raised him. It's made very clear throughout the show that Homelander's childhood was anything but positive, and these are the people that made Homelander who he is. So him challenging Frank to a game of paper basketball seems a lot more dangerous than it should be. He begins his rant during their game, recalling how he learned this game from Frank. He notices that Frank doesn't really remember this, and Starr gives off this faked half smile. His reaction reveals his displeasure, and as he gets deeper into his monologue, it's revealed that Frank threw Homelander in an oven trying to burn his skin. Starr presents it in this sort of sarcastic, positive way that's just menacingly faked, and that tension that's been built throughout the whole episode begins to compound. If it wasn't clear before, it is now. These people are in danger. Frank doesn't respond and Homelander continues his monologue, and that faked nicety slowly diminishes. He goes from welcoming to dead serious in a second, sharing the agony he felt as a result of Frank's actions. Flashbacks to his past quite literally flash the screen, and the pain Homelander felt can be understood even through the screen. Starr seems to lose himself in the moment as his seriousness turns to a real look of hate and disgust. but he quickly regains his composure and goes to take his last shot. And this is where Frank says he was just doing his job. This comment clearly upsets Homelander, and that look of hate and disgust immediately returns. Thanks to Starr's incredible mannerisms, we can tell exactly how Homelander is feeling. He gets further lost in his remembrance of pain before ordering Frank to enter the same oven meant to burn him. Marty, the person who called Homelander John before, calls him John again, and this time that, albeit faked but subtle nicety he had in his earlier correction is gone as he proudly corrects him to Homelander. Frank apologizes with what looks to be sincerity, and Homelander asks him for what? He was just doing his job. And then he forces Frank into the oven and cooks him alive, the same way it was meant to cook him. These creepy violins accompany Frank's death, and it's clear the rest of these scientists will meet a similar fate. Homelander is, quite literally, a bully. One that'll crush your head in instead of taking your lunch money, but still a bully nonetheless. The only thing is, no one can rival his power. The boys have been trying for 4 seasons to find a way to kill Homelander, and they haven't really come close. Hell, they can't even hurt him, so what chance does any character really stand? Combine this power with how unhinged Homelander is, and it creates a sense of genuine fear for any character he comes across. But of course, masterfully shown by The Godfather 3, good writing doesn't mean anything if your actors can't portray it. And thankfully, Anthony Starr can. These instant switches between sarcasm, courtesy, and dead cold seriousness are what make Homelander so terrifying. How unpredictable he is, how in an instant he can go from welcoming to terrifying. Homelander is ruthless, and that ruthlessness is on full effect as the rest of the episode plays out. Creepy score undertones the scene as we return to Homelander's torment. He looks at Frank's oven and seems to feel genuine anguish, and Starr's incredible acting terrifies us that much more. In the span of a few seconds, we see his face go from pure disgust to genuine pain, and it's made clear he doesn't even pity these people. He thinks they're so far below him that they're literal ants. The only thing he remembers is the genuine pain they caused him as a child, and he intends to repay that. He calls Marty over to reminisce about an old nickname he had, and just like Frank, Marty doesn't remember it. This deeply upsets Homelander, and he explains to Marty why he so vividly remembers his old nickname. As a kid, the only happiness he ever felt was for the few minutes of private time he had. Private time he would use to, choke the chicken. But one day, he couldn't finish in time and Marty caught him, nicknaming him Squirt. He tells his story with a sarcastic nostalgia, faking his wholesomeness the whole way through. And I think that's part of what makes Starr's portrayal so incredible. The way Starr portrays Homelander isn't just convincing, it's hypnotizing. He's one of the very few cases where I literally can't separate an actor from a character. So seeing him do interviews and, not look like he's about to murder someone is jarring. But in The Boys, it feels like all of this happiness is faked. It's like Homelander is trying to act human, but he physically doesn't know how other than this menacing in-between of welcoming and terrifying. So when he asks Marty to, with a smile on his face, it's even more terrifying because it's one of the only times we know his happiness is genuine. Of course, Marty tries to talk his way out of it, apologizing for how he raised Homelander, and he accepts his apology. But still, he urges him on. The creepy undertone score returns, and Homelander keeps pushing him. He starts to hysterically laugh as he watches Marty struggle to get hard, and when Marty gives up, he gives him a demand. Get an erection or he'll laser a hole through his body. And he says it with a smile. The tension builds and builds further, and Homelander's happiness becomes genuine. His only enjoyment is from tormenting these people, playing with them like they're toys, and the scene quickly escalates. Starr goes from a commanding talk to a horrifying yell, demanding Marty meet his requirements. The score builds and tension rises faster and faster until Homelander's horrifying laugh haunts the scene, and we the audience are horrified in one of Homelander's only times of happiness. After this, he meets with Barbara in his childhood home, only it's not filled with a bed and posters of his favorite movies, it's just a white cell. Barbara has this cold demeanor as well that sort of juxtaposes any of the other humans. She seems to be the only one that isn't afraid of Homelander. We've seen it before with characters like Stan Edgar, and when Homelander encounters a character like this, one that isn't afraid to challenge him, he usually freezes up and doesn't know what to do. But this time, things are different. She does her best to insult him and poke at his insecurities, methods that had successfully worked on him in the past. But this time, things are different. He explains how he knows that he isn't human, and that need for love he once had is gone. In the scene's final shot, he tells Barbara he wants to show her why this is called the Bad Room, and for about 13 minutes of runtime, we get nothing, until the episode's very last scene. The elevator chimes return, and that creepy undertone does as well. We cut to Homelander covered in blood as he leaves his childhood home, content with the lives he's taken. The scene cuts, showing the people he massacred and the fear he inflicted. And when we cut back to Homelander, the creepy score and horrifying undertone return, and he lets out a tiny smile, letting the audience know he's enjoyed his torture. It's not very often an actor becomes so synonymous with their character that it becomes impossible to see them as anyone else. Starr's ability to capture Homelander in his all, his perfect mannerisms, his unpredictable tone. No one could have captured Homelander the way Anthony Starr has, and it's to his credit that The Boys is so incredible. Without Homelander, or even just a lesser version of him, The Boys would not be what it is. The tension he fills every scene with, the constant danger he puts every other character in. Without Starr, there is no Homelander, and without Homelander, there is no The Boys. I can't praise him enough for this performance. It's genuinely one of the most terrifying renditions of any villain I've ever seen, and Starr captures it perfectly. His diction, his body language, it's all just perfect. Starr deserves all the credit in the world for this role, and with it, a masterclass on how to terrify the audience. Thank you for watching.